Greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to a little, update video, a little short finale episode to sort of wrap up Spyro, because this has been a year and a half of my life working on these videos. And I did promise like a little bit, an editorial at the end of Spyro 3. I wrote a script for an editorial, I voiced it, I was editing it, and I just wasn't feeling it. Something about it didn't feel quite right. It was just kind of a redundant video because, I was talking about the history of Spyro in the 2000s and how it and Crash, Universal kept spamming these games and they just didn't have the development time they needed and the games didn't pan out as well, so they had to reboot it multiple times. And in many ways, the Reignited Trilogy was kind of a continuation of a lot of those problems where the development was clearly rushed. They had to get Sanzaro Games to come in and finish Spyro 3 because Toys for Bob barely had time to finish Spyro 2 in time. They had to ship the game incomplete. The discs originally only contained Spyro 1 and you had to download the other two games. And I remember it took a pretty long time. Before everybody comments, I do know that they eventually reissued the game on PS4 and Xbox with all three games on one disc. So if you can find the newer issue discs, then you can get all three on one disc, but that was not how it was originally. There were glitches, particularly in Spyro 3, because Sanzaro was terrible at optimizing their games. There were no subtitles out of the box for certain cutscenes, which was, if you're hard of hearing, you need subtitles, and they just weren't there in a game that was released long after that was standard. And it's like, of course, a lot of these things eventually got fixed or patched out because that's just how modern gaming has to work for whatever reason, but, there's an expectation of a certain quality standard when a game launches, and for a lot of people, the Reignited Trilogy did not meet that standard, which is understandable. This happened, it sucks that it keeps happening, but I don't really have anything new to say about it. It just didn't fit anywhere in the other three videos. I wanted to talk about the game design and how the remakes were different and, how they lived up to their potential or didn't live up to their potential, and it just never was a good place to fit that, so... And honestly, I don't really have anything else to say about it now. It sucks that it happened. It's unfortunate that Spyro still, in 2018, had to have a rushed development timeline and that, they couldn't give Toys for Bob the time to finish the game themselves, that they had to hire on Sanzaro, that they had to hire on, like if you watch the credits, you'll see that they're like, what feels like 50 different companies credited for concept art. And it's just, it feels so cynical and it kind of harshes my vibe, honestly. But then it's just like I actually play the game again and I'm really enjoying it. So it's like, yeah, I get why that harshes people's vibe and why that kind of tarnishes their view of the Reignited Trilogy. Personally, I think, given that all that went down, it's kind of a miracle that they turned out as well as they did. I stand by all of the praise and criticism I gave to the trilogy and the reviews. I had to kind of thread that needle because it's like there are people who will hate the remake no matter what it did, and there are people who will praise it no matter what it did because it has Spyro in it and they like Spyro. And then there's me who's like trying to compare these very beloved classic games that I myself happen to really love, but have criticisms of. That, it's kind of a touchy minefield no matter what angle I tried to approach that from. They were very difficult scripts to write, very stressful, especially when it came time to edit, because it's just like the more stuff I had to comment on, the more stuff I had to verify, the more footage I had to edit and sift through, and it's just like the development stuff didn't really fit anywhere. I didn't have anything particularly constructive or new to say about it. So, yeah, that's really all there is to it. I think it sucks that it happened. Certainly, I hope that, like, Crash 4 is coming out this year. I hope that game gets the time it needs to be as finished as it can. Because I'm actually really looking forward to that game, and I'm not even really a Crash fan. But the trailers look really interesting. I'm looking forward to playing Crash 4. And I certainly hope that when they greenlight another Spyro game, whatever that looks like, that will get the time it needs to be to excel. and, you know, live up to the standards of the older games. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But I do kind of want to send off these Spyro videos at least a little bit because, like I said, it's been like a year and a half of my life. Back last summer, like at the beginning of last summer, I started recording Spyro 1 on PlayStation. Like, the production was a nightmare. I had to record all these different versions. The scripts were difficult to write. But at the same time, there were also videos I really wanted to make for a very long time because Spyro is special to me. You know, like I didn't grow up with the original trilogy, but I did grow up with the GBA games, and then eventually in my high school years, I played the original games and fell in love with them. Even then, you know, it's like, these are some really great collectathons, some of the best in their genre, and I wanted to give them the treatment they deserved. You know, and it was difficult also because there were also criticisms I had, and I didn't want to overlook those or fluff those, and it was a lot of stuff to put into just 3 videos. And you know, those edits were really rough too because it was like all of this footage, and sometimes I didn't have the footage I needed, and I had to go record more, or oh, this voiceover take I did was shit, so I had to re-record that. You know, these are some of the hardest edits I've ever done, and I can only hope, because it's like one of those things, I don't know if any of you guys code or write code or script, but it's kind of like how when you've been crunching on code for so long that it stops looking like words, it just looks like gibberish on your monitor, and that's like when you know you have to take a break. And that's kind of what happened with the production for this as well. So I can only hope that the videos turned out well and that you guys enjoyed them, because it was rough on my end, but you know, and honestly, there are a lot of things that I probably could have and should have cut, but it's whatever. It's behind us now. I'm ready to move on to new pastures. And on that note, the next video will be Metroid vs. Metroid Zero Mission Remake or Rebreak, a video that has been a long time coming. And from now on, I'm going to be changing up the Remake or Rebreak formula just a bit because, like, the formula made sense when I started, and these videos were only like 20 to 30 minutes long, but it's just like with each one, they've gotten longer and longer, even though I say that I remember when I did DKC3, I'm never doing a video that's 30 minutes long ever again. Then I go ahead and publish a 2-hour-long video on a platforming game. Yeah, something's got to give because the editing and production for these things has gotten more and more complicated, and it's just like, so we're splitting them into multiple parts from now on, and the way I'm going to do that is, some people have told me in the comments that they don't like me talking as much about the original game. But at the same time, I still want to talk about the original game, because it's just like I try to talk about the remake relative to its potential, and I can't really talk about its potential and how well it fulfills that if I don't talk about the original game. So what I'm going to do from now on is, I'm going to do Metroid as part 1, and that's going to be about, I think, like a 30-minute video, 25 to 30 minutes. It's like a 6-page script, single space, so that usually ends up being like 25 to 30 minutes. And then Zero Mission by itself, which I think is like 8 pages or whatever. So if you don't care about the original and you just want to hear Zero Mission changes so-and-so, then you can just watch part 2. If you still care about some guy blabbing about video games and want to hear what I think of Metroid 1, that's in its own video as well. And, you know, the Remake or Rebreak score will be in part 2, obviously, so I'm gonna give that a shot, see how that works. It should make the editing a lot more straightforward in terms of like, oh, I made this so-and-so editing mistake and I gotta fix that. Then I don't have to rewatch an entire 2-hour-long video when I upload it again if I decide that whatever it is worth it, because I did that for Spyro 3. I uploaded it and I'm just like, wow, the audio is clipping, I gotta fix that, and that meant re-uploading the entire 2-hour-long video, and then I've got to watch it to make sure that nothing went wrong when it uploads, because people will talk about that if that happens. It was a nightmare to do for a 2-hour-long video, so if I split it into 2 smaller videos, that makes it easier, and it means I can upload more often. You know, it's just like worst case scenario, people don't like it, and I'll go back to the old way. Yeah, so I've basically spent the past month recording a whole bunch of Metroid B-roll, and I think I'll probably do like all the 2D games at least, because those are shorter videos I can make. But yeah, and there will be a Samus Returns video as well, so don't worry about that. So yeah, that's what's happening next. Thank you for watching. I hope the Spyro videos were good and that you enjoyed them and that they turned out well, but yeah. So until then, I'm ExoParadigmGamer, and I'll see you next mission.